Stop using AI for the easy stuff. I'm Adriene Pessel, and this is an excerpt from a training that I led to real estate professionals. I input appreciation rates from smart charts, and I went through for 20 years, and then I put it all in ChatGPT, and I said, make me a chart. And I did a chart from the appreciation rates from the greater DC area, Mid-Atlantic, Fairfax, Southern Maryland, and it has the appreciation of each year. And I got it all from smart charts. Now I'm going to go ahead and use that to help with CMAs, to help with multiple offers, and to help my clients so they get a real feel of what prices are. So it's no guessing, especially when we go into multiple offer situations. You know, buyers are like, well, how much should I offer? And they want to make sure that they're not going to be overpaying, right? We don't want to have the winner's curse and then we got the house, but we overpaid for it. By using these tools and cross-pollinating, you're able to help the buyer see what range makes sense. So here's an example of how I use it with the multiple offer situation. The list price was $725. So I looked back to figure out when the sellers bought the property. Then I used the appreciation rate from that time. And then I looked at the pictures, what it looked before and what improvements that I had. And then I used what it would cost. Inflation alone from 2017 to 2025, what would this house be of value? Check on the CPI calculator, gave that. Then I said, okay, the remodeling cost. So they improved it. And I did about 38% of what the cost value sheet that comes out every year. It gives you guidelines, not so much the price, but it gives you the recapture rate. So I put that in there. So it said that 726. Then I said, okay, let's based on appreciation rate, not inflation, and then add those improvements. And I got 754. If I give them this and I show them what the comps are down here, like these are other houses, 740, 758, 735. And I do this on the low end, it's 726. They're asking 725. Zillow's price said 708 to 858. That doesn't help me. They offered 740 and it sold for 747. They feel that they got a fair shake out of that because I gave them real numbers. It wasn't my gut feeling. Here's one scenario where somebody I met, they just signed a lease. They told me sick, he had cancer and he wasn't feeling well and not allowed to smoke in the units, but they smoke in the common areas and the smoke really irritated him. They needed to move, so they thought it would just make more sense just to buy. I said, okay, let me see what I can do. So I uploaded the lease. Here how my prompt is. You are an expert paralegal doing your due diligence for a tenant who wants to get out of the lease without any penalty. And it pulled from the lease and made connections. So then I called up my buyer and I said, you need to call the county and see if those codes are still in place. So he did. Called back and he said, Adriene, they're still in place. So my next step was I asked ChatGPT to go ahead and draft a letter that they can go to it. So I told him it was great working with you today. And I said, attaches a sample draft letter. Do a double check, get with your attorneys, attach a physician's letter and put it in your own words. He kind of took a summary of it. They got out and this took 2 days. So here's one, a tenant that they rented this property. I was their agent. About maybe 6 months into it, they had all these issues with the HVAC, the water, the heater, the leaking, and the landlord was being really slow. But in the meantime, the people had to move out and they moved in with parents. And so they would call me up and I said, let me see what I can come up with. Well, I called property management. Anything I could do? They're like, well, maybe see if you can reach directly to the landlord. And that didn't work. So then I decided, let me check ChatGPT. And I asked ChatGPT and I said, I'm a realtor looking to help my clients. Please find a solution to help a tenant using any consumer protection laws in Fairfax County, Virginia that are in place. The tenant is in a situation. And I went in and I made this whole thing about the AC system. It gives me tenant should file a tenant assertion rent escrow in court, which I'll sum it all up, that the tenant can go to Fairfax County, make a complaint, file an escrow requirement. And as long as they haven't missed any payments, they can go to Fairfax County, file this report. They then can make their monthly payments to the county and not be in any trouble with the landlord. And the landlord doesn't get their money until they either fix it or they get a court date. And then the court hears it and says, we're going to sign with the landlord, we're going to sign with the buyer. But either way, the landlord doesn't get their money until this happens. So that gave the tenant power that said, look, you either fix this or you're going to at least have to wait till a court date to get your money. Within 24 hours, I get this message. The owners have approved the rent reimbursement of $46.85.88. My clients got their money back. So now let's ask AI for clarity. I know as agents, we don't tell people what's in the HOI documents. We can't do that, right? We can't give them an opinion. And I gave the prompt that says, review the following items, just summarize it line by line, paragraph by paragraph. Do not give an opinion, just give the summation. This is what comes out. This document has 400 pages. Now, how many people read through 400 pages? This GPT, it'll just summarize all 400 pages. For this person was business vehicles and dogs are my number one concern. So it went in, talk about what is a business vehicle, where it can be. Then it says pets. You may have 2 dogs. If your dog barks 2 times in a minute for 10 minutes straight, that is considered a nuisance. Now, that's a pretty detailed information. This gives you some ideas. Now they can go back and read more. And I have a disclaimer that goes at the top of the page and at the bottom page. This is for summary informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Always consult a qualified attorney before making a decision. You can do it for something simple like this. And I go, can you summarize this PDF? And I got it all together from me to the buyer. I read through the solar panel addendum. I also reviewed the solar panel sheet I sent earlier. After reviewing it, I uploaded on ChatGPT, create a summary. Please take a look at the documents, then we can set up time to speak. And then I wrote in, I said, remember, I am not an attorney, so I'm doing my disclaimer. And what she writes back is, thanks, what a great idea. I will review the summary and read the materials. This makes my life easier. That's what we do as agents. As you guys can tell, I'm big on numbers. So as I follow smart charts every month of the stats, what's going on in the areas that I work in, I can check how many listings are available, how many houses stay on the market, how many houses go under contract, how long does it stay on the market. So by me following these every month, I can keep track of them. And so I have this big Excel spreadsheet that I have for the past 20, 25 years of information. And I have them braced down towards April because it's a spring market. I then put that information into Perplexity and ask it to pull out any data that I want. So as you can see here, I pulled out all the information excluding the highs and the lows, basically removing during the pandemic, removing during the big bubble that happened before when we had almost 7,000 listings at the market. And what is the norm? What's going on? So I can see, are we changing? And I can give my clients a little bit of a heads up. Look, this is what the standard has been for the last 20, 25 years. So when you hear the headlines that say the market's falling or the buyers are getting ready to walk away from the market or whatever the headlines are, we have to know the stats. Ignore the narrative that the media puts on for their clickbait. Know the stats for your area. Because remember, real estate is local and you need to understand your market. Tools like this aren't about shortcuts. They're about raising the standard. When agents use AI thoughtfully, it means better research, better preparation, and better support for the people you represent. Thanks again for coming. I hope you guys got a lot out of it and look forward to the next training session.